And see, here's the thing. You're not a dictator, Hunter. You're just a...
Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on those notifications. And once you're done, leave a comment down below and I just might end up responding. You get one, you ought to expect the other. Recently, we delved into the real-life personality traits of your favorite wrestlers to see which on-screen assholes actually had a little bit of kindness in their true hearts. And today, we'll be flipping that script and showing you different wrestlers who are actually a bit of real-life heels. With that said, I'm D Wicked from watching WWE, and here's 10 wrestlers who are actually kinda in real life. Number 10, Bubba Ray Dudley. This one feels fathomable. If you told me Daniel Bryan was making this list, many an eyelash would end up being batted, but something about Bubba being an ass in real life it just feels right. Now, important to note that none of the people on this list are truly bad people for caveat, or even that much of in the first place, but more so could have bad attitudes, are infamous for poor fan interactions, or something of the like. Bubba, not so much, as he's not only well known for both of those, but also being incredibly difficult to work with, and that's coming from the horse's brother himself, Devon Dudley, who has confirmed pretty much everything I just said, and then some, especially when it comes to fan interactions outside of the business.
We got a mom in the front row who taught her daughter how to suck.
Number 9, Seth Rollins. Not a great look for your top babyface, but hey, what exactly has been good lookings for the Architect lately, as along with his rough babyface booking, Rollins' recent Twitter interactions and comments on podcasts have tanked a lot of people's positive opinions on the Universal Champion. The dude just can't keep his foot out of his own mouth, whether he's calling out Will Ospreay for making more money than him, calling out Moxley for whining, and the stupidest quote I've ever heard, taking food off his plate, or addressing his own controversies with the classic wrestling fans hate everything. Seth may seem like an alright enough dude, but he is really coming off as a prick right now.
I don't know what changed as far as the fact that, except for the fact that I became the person that they wanted me to be, and then they hated me for it.
Number 8, Shawn Michaels. Now, this isn't a surprise. Shawn. Shawn is probably the most well-known jerk in the entire business, if we're being honest. He just tends to not get that much credit these days, as his legendary second run was often paired with this new born-again Christian mentality. Well, yeah, just because it's a cow doesn't mean it's gonna moo all the time, which is my horrible analogy to explain that just because he's a Christian now doesn't mean he's always gonna act like it. See pretty much the entire Hulk Hogan feud and how he handled that one off for proof. He's definitely mellowed out in the later years, but if you took the asshole average of his entire career, those early decades really weigh down the scale.
The way you talked to me, the way you talked to Jose Lothario that got you in the business, for the way that you got with your little clique and expose the business.
Number 7, Triple H. And again, you should not be surprised right now. Papa H might be putting on some of the best television out there and helping make Wednesday nights truly Miz TV levels of must-see, but that is Papa H, not Triple H. While the NXT dad is humble as can be, the game's ego doesn't take more than 1 or 2 WrestleMania entrances to realize. Being brought into the clique alongside Michaels over 20 years ago and brought into the McMahon family as a seemingly spiritual successor, the dude is destined to be an clown, and if those recent rumors about NXT talent being unhappy and somewhat unpaid are true, then he may be taking some of those rough-shot Vince business tendencies to heart as well.
And see, here's the thing. You're not a dictator, Hunter. You're just a...
Number 6, CM Punk. Lots of obvious entries are making the list today, but surprisingly, CM Punk is probably the kindest person on this list, at least now. If the slow progression of the last 5 years is anything to go off of, he has truly mellowed out and found his peace since his departure way back in 2014, going from a company-bashing, disgruntled pipe bomb dropper all the way to the peace, love, and positivity spreading, happy to be here and even return to the ring if the payday was big enough CM Punk. That is pretty bizarre, but even though he's turned new leaves, the old ones are still buried down there, and the Punk inside him is always going to be there. Just keep updated on his Twitter if you want proof for that one. Number 5, MJF. Look, I know. Maxwell Jacob Friedman is not actually the way that he is. He's simply playing a character. I get it. I've watched wrestling, but hear me out. This dude is never not in character. On screen, obviously, right? But at events, meet and greets, social media, podcasts, interviews, conventions, every single fan interaction ever with MJF has been a negative. There is no breaking the kayfabe of Maxwell Jacob Friedman, because to him, there is no kayfabe. The dude just lives his gimmick so thoroughly that I'll be damned not putting him on this list, if for no other reason than he has to at least sort of be just to be this so damn good at it. Number 4, Sami Zayn. From the accounts of real-life best friend Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn's quirky character on screen back when the pair were healing it up wasn't very far off from the real man himself. Zayn's a pretty out there guy, and while he clearly isn't a terrible person based on the Sammy for Syria campaign alone, he definitely feels like a social outsider to some extent, which makes it not too hard to imagine him being nearly intolerable for fan interactions, or like any extended period of time. Podcasts kind of give it away on this guy. NXT Zayn might be one of the most endearing underdogs in all of pro wrestling, but the real Sammy was nowhere near as good as finding himself that likable behind the scenes.
It's hard to explain. It's just something in the air. It's just so Quebec.
Number 3, Shamo. Yeah, that's about as shocking as finding out that JBL isn't too cool of a dude to hang out with. Can't you just imagine Sheamus walking into a bar, knocking the ever-loving hell out of some random dude, and then just popping a squat and throwing back some buds? Why does that feel so Sheamus? Is it the Irish thing? Am I secretly towards Ireland and I don't realize it? Well, no, because Shamo is a fairly reserved guy and he'd prefer to keep it that way. He's pretty well known, like many on this list, for the rough fan interactions, but especially his attitude behind the scenes, most notably earlier in his career when he used his relationship as Triple H's gym partner as leeway and leverage over the rest of the roster. He's never exactly come off as rude to other people behind the scenes, but he definitely feels like the kind of corporate guy who's using that pull that he got so early on. Oh, and also, he's pretty infamous for stiff shots, having been the man to end Daniel Bryan's career initially.
You were in the ring with,
I would say Sheamus. Yeah, that guy, every time that guy kicks you, he hurts for real.
Number 2, Hulk Hogan. I mean, of all the names on this list, him, Shawn, and the number 1 are the only people that I can 100% say for certain are not great people. Hulk Hogan is the most prominent backstage politic in wrestling history. He's definitely responsible for more burials, misuses of talent, behind the scenes betrayals, and general f***ery in all of wrestling than anyone else. And if you were truly so inclined, you can go watch a video online right now that confirms he's also a... There's your real American, guys. A truly perfect representation of this great country.
Guy walks in at 4 or 5 o'clock on Monday, changes what you have planned, and we're coming up live in 2 hours. That causes mass confusion.
And number 1, Randy Orton. Obviously, Randy Orton is he may come off as the coolest son of a gun you never seen on TV before, but that's the point. He is cool. He's also good looking, unfathomably naturally talented, a 3rd-generation wrestler who was born into and guaranteed work in this business at a young age, which he was granted, and he's been a millionaire for a large portion of his life. Obviously, this guy is sort of a... Don't get me wrong, I love Randy Orton and a lot of his nonsense, but there's just too many stories to ignore, from in Divas bags to making new writers grab his penis. Randy Orton will go down as the ultimate WWE nozzle.
He kept my boot is right here, and he kept dipping his into my boot. And I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, me.
And those are 10 wrestlers who are actually kind of mean in real life. What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments down below. Like the videos, subscribe to the channel, and notifications, and that bell.